Today, we're diving into a sensitive but important topic. The signs that your partner might be thinking about leaving the relationship. Look, nobody wants to think about this, but burying your head in the sand won't do you any favors. We've got to face facts. Relationships can be tough. Sometimes people change, and sometimes those changes mean growing apart. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and miss the warning signs. That's why we're here to give you the lowdown, the straight talk, no sugarcoating. We're going to unpack 10 telltale signs that your partner might be heading for the door. So buckle up, because we're about to hit you with some hard truths. And trust me, facing these issues head-on is the first step to fixing what might be broken. The first sign we're going to explore is emotional disconnect. You know, when your partner seems distant, like they're a million miles away, even when they're sitting right next to you. This isn't about an off day or needing a little space. This is a consistent pattern of being emotionally unavailable. They're not engaged in conversations, they seem indifferent to your feelings, and you just can't seem to connect with them anymore. This kind of emotional withdrawal is a major red flag. It's like they've already checked out of the relationship emotionally, and that's a dangerous place to be. If you're feeling this disconnect with your partner, don't ignore it. You need to address it head on. We're talking about sitting down, having a real conversation, and figuring out what's going on. Now, emotional distance can manifest in different ways. Sometimes it's not about being outwardly cold or uncaring, but rather a lack of interest in sharing their inner world with you. Remember, relationships thrive on intimacy, and I'm not just talking about physical intimacy here, I'm talking about emotional intimacy. Sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, your fears. When that starts to fade, when your partner stops confiding in you, when they stop sharing their joys and burdens, it's a sign that something is seriously wrong. They're essentially building a wall between the two of you, brick by emotional brick. And if you don't address it, you might find yourself on the other side of a wall you didn't even help build. Let's talk about physical affection, or rather, the lack thereof. We're talking about the hugs, the kisses, the hand-holding, those little gestures that say, I'm here, I care, and I'm connected to you. When these everyday expressions of affection start to fade, it can be a sign that something's amiss. Now, I understand that everyone has different levels of comfort with physical touch, but I'm talking about a noticeable and persistent decline in physical intimacy. The once frequent hugs become rare, the goodnight kisses disappear, and you find yourself sleeping farther and farther apart in bed. This lack of physical touch can be a sign of a deeper emotional disconnect. It's like they're pulling away, creating physical distance to match the emotional distance they're already feeling. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, we've been together a long time, things change. And you're right, passion can ebb and flow in a long-term relationship. But here's the thing, even if the fireworks aren't always there, a healthy relationship maintains a baseline of physical affection. It's about feeling wanted, desired, and connected to your partner. When that connection fades, and you're living in a state of chronic physical disconnect, it's time to have a serious conversation. Don't let this fester and grow into a bigger problem. You need to understand what's driving this behavior. Is it something within the relationship? Is it something they're dealing with individually? Get to the root of the issue. You know, folks, communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. It's how we connect, understand each other, and build intimacy. But when that line of communication starts to break down, you've got a real problem on your hands. It's like trying to drive a car with a busted engine. You're not going to get very far. So if you find yourself in a relationship where the conversations have dried up or become shallow and meaningless, it's time to pay attention. Look, I'm not saying you need to be joined at the hip, constantly chattering away. But when you're sharing a life with someone, there's bound to be things to talk about, things to share, and, let's be honest, things to argue about. That's just part of being in a relationship. But when your partner starts clamming up, withdrawing, or just plain avoiding any kind of meaningful conversation, that's a big, waving red flag. One of the most frustrating things in a relationship is feeling like you're talking to a brick wall. You pour your heart out, you express your concerns, and you're met with silence, shrugs, or vague, dismissive answers. That's not communication, folks, that's stonewalling, and it's a recipe for disaster. It's like trying to have a tennis match with someone who refuses to hit the ball back. You're left feeling unheard, unseen, and unimportant. And let me tell you, that's a dangerous place to be in a relationship, because when people don't feel heard, they start to feel resentful. And when resentment builds up, it can poison even the strongest of bonds. Now, I'm all for personal space and having your own life outside of a relationship. It's healthy, it's important, and it keeps things interesting. But there's a big difference between healthy independence and creating distance in a relationship. When your partner suddenly starts spending an inordinate amount of time away from you without a clear explanation or reason, that's a sign something's amiss. It's like they're slowly but surely pulling away, creating a gap between you that wasn't there before. Maybe they're working late more often, maybe they're spending more time with friends, or maybe they're just finding excuses to be anywhere but with you. Whatever the reason, it's crucial to address this shift in the relationship. Look, sometimes people need a little space to sort through their feelings, and that's okay. But when that space turns into an escape from the relationship, that's when you've got a real problem. It's like they're checking out emotionally, distancing themselves from you and the life you've built together. And let's be honest, nobody wants to feel like they're being avoided. It's hurtful, it's confusing, and it can leave you feeling incredibly insecure. You start to question everything. Is it something you did? Are they unhappy? Is there someone else? These are tough questions, but they're questions that need to be asked. Because if you ignore the signs, you're just setting yourself up for a world of hurt down the line. Let me tell you something, folks. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. You're two different people with different opinions, different perspectives, and different ways of seeing the world. So yeah, you're going to bump heads from time to time. That's normal, that's healthy, and it's actually an opportunity to learn and grow together. But when your partner starts to show indifference towards conflict, when they no longer have the energy or the desire to work things out, that's a major red flag. It's like they've thrown in the towel, given up on the relationship, and they're just waiting for the final bell to ring. Now, I'm not saying you need to be screaming at each other every day, but a healthy relationship requires engagement, it requires effort, and it requires a willingness to fight for what you have. When your partner becomes emotionally checked out, they're essentially saying, I don't care enough to even try anymore. And that, my friends, is a recipe for disaster. Because a relationship without passion, without fire, without the willingness to fight for it, is a relationship that's headed straight for the rocks. So if you're seeing these signs in your own relationship, don't ignore them. Don't sweep them under the rug and pretend everything's fine, because it's not. You need to have a real, honest conversation with your partner and figure out what's going on. So, you're trying to make plans with your partner, right? Maybe it's a vacation a few months out, or even just a simple, hey, let's do this next weekend. But every time you bring up the future, they clam up. They're suddenly busy, non-committal, or they just flat out change the subject. Now, I'm not saying every rain check means your relationship is doomed, but when someone consistently avoids making future plans with you, it's a major red flag, folks. It tells you they're not seeing you in their long-term picture, and that's a problem. Look, relationships are about building a life together, and building anything requires a blueprint, a plan. If your partner is dodging those define the relationship conversations and avoiding any talk of the future, you've got to ask yourself why. Life is meant to be lived in the present moment. But healthy relationships also plan for the future. Shared dreams, goals, and aspirations. When your partner avoids these discussions, it's like they're stuck in a perpetual right now. This can leave you feeling insecure and unimportant. It's like they're saying, you're good for now, but I'm not making any promises. And that, my friend, is no way to live. You deserve someone excited about building a future with you. We all need our privacy, right? But there's a big difference between enjoying some alone time and operating in a constant state of secrecy. When your partner starts acting like a character in a spy thriller, hiding their phone, whispering on calls, disappearing for hours without explanation, it's time to raise an eyebrow. Secrecy breeds suspicion, and suspicion can poison even the strongest of bonds. If your partner is constantly engaging in shady behavior, it's going to eat away at you. You deserve better than that. You deserve to be with someone who's open, honest, and worthy of your trust. Relationships thrive in the light of truth. Secrets cast shadows of doubt and suspicion. Shine a light on their behavior. Confrontation can be uncomfortable. Avoiding it prolongs the agony. Tell them, "I'm not okay with this. It makes me feel like I can't trust you." Their reaction tells you a lot. Defensive or dismissive? Or do they acknowledge your concerns? A partner who values your relationship will work on rebuilding trust. You deserve honesty and respect. Don't settle for anything less. Remember when you first started dating? Everything was new and exciting. You couldn't wait to spend time together. But somewhere along the line, that spark started to fade. The things you used to enjoy together now feel like chores. Their enthusiasm has vanished, replaced by a lack of interest. And let me tell you, that's not a good sign, folks. Not every relationship needs to be a non-stop adventure. We all go through phases of enthusiasm, but consistent disinterest in shared activities is a red flag. Have a serious conversation about what's changed. Ask directly what happened. Listen without judgment. Are they going through something personal, or simply bored with the routine? Is it a deeper issue within the relationship? This is a chance to reconnect and reignite the spark. When your partner starts bringing up the what-if scenarios, what if we weren't together? What if we went our separate ways? They're testing the waters. They're gauging your reaction. And that's a dangerous game. The more they say it, the more real it becomes. They start normalizing life without you. So don't brush it off. Pay attention to these conversations. Ignoring this sign could be the beginning of the end. When the conversation turns to ultimatums or threats, it's a whole other level of seriousness. Ultimatums like, "Either things change or I'm out," draw a line in the sand. It's often manipulative and controlling. Relationships should be built on love, trust, and mutual respect, not fear and coercion. You know that feeling deep down in your gut? The one that tells you something's just not right? Well, folks, that's your intuition talking, and it's usually right on the money. We're talking about that nagging feeling that something is off, even if you can't quite put your finger on it. Maybe they're being more secretive, their behavior has changed, or the way they look at you just isn't the same. You can try to rationalize it away, tell yourself you're just being paranoid, but deep down, you know something's different. Listen, we're all equipped with this internal warning system for a reason. It's our primal instinct kicking in, trying to protect us from getting hurt. You see, our subconscious minds pick up on subtle cues and patterns that our conscious minds might miss. So when your gut tells you something's amiss, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off or make excuses for your partner's behavior. Instead, pay attention to those red flags, those nagging doubts. Acknowledge them, explore them, and most importantly, trust yourself to make the best decision for your own well-being. Remember, you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel loved, respected, and valued. And if your gut is screaming that something's wrong, it's time to listen. So there you have it, folks. 10 signs that your partner might be planning to walk out that door. And let me tell you something. These signs, they're not about playing the blame game. This isn't about pointing fingers. This is about taking a good, hard look at your relationship and being honest with yourselves about what you're seeing. If you recognize these signs in your own relationship, it's time to have that tough conversation with your partner. Don't be afraid to address the elephant in the room. Communication, even when it's difficult, is crucial. Remember, folks, your emotional well-being is paramount. You deserve to be in a relationship where you feel loved, respected, and valued. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more relationship advice.